Hello everyone and welcome back to Baking with Paul. Today we're going to be making red velvet cupcakes for Valentine's Day. We're going to preheat our oven to 180, gas mark 4. Bob your Uncle Fanny's yard.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Baking. It's me, Jack.
And me, Paul.
We're going to voice over for you this week and follow along with this lovely recipe for red velvet cupcakes.
For Valentine's Day.
We're a little bit late for Valentine's Day, but it doesn't mean you can't show someone you care about how much you care with a lovely red velvet cupcake.
Exactly. Look, there we go with the scales.
So remember, whenever you're using your scales, put your bowl on and then zero them. Make sure they're zeroed.
I think in this one we pre-weighed the flour, hadn't we?
We pre-weighed a few things, but that you obviously will need to weigh.
I'm going to tell you how much you need of everything. So the butter we didn't weigh, that is going to be 60 grams of butter. And ideally soft butter. You don't want hard butter because it'll be a nightmare to try and
cream it together
with the sugar.
Yeah.
So as always, with any cake, you always start with your butter and then your sugar, which will shortly be coming in.
And as you might have noticed in a few of our videos, we've said leave the butter out. Let it come to room temperature, make sure it's soft. And here comes that caster sugar.
There's the caster sugar, the nicely refined sugar. Zero your scales again, and I think we're looking for 150 caster sugar.
It's reassuring to me that you've learned how to use the lids on the sugar now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think the flour one's a bit harder to use because it just doesn't want to come out. Sometimes it comes out too fast. Sugar, you can sort of manage a bit better. So then you bring in your wooden spoon.
Time for that trusty wooden spoon.
And then you just want to use the back of your spoon again to try and incorporate the sugar and butter, get it nicely creamed together.
You're actually going to see now, because Paul hadn't managed to warm his butter up, because we were filming this quite early in the day. It's a little bit difficult for him to actually push the butter and sugar together.
Yeah, I'd like the butter to be a bit softer, and it was a bit of hard work. You can see the R4 arm going there.
and that's why it's so important to leave it out and let it come to temperature.
Yeah. It just makes your life a lot easier. I mean, you could use baking butter, which is like marge, but I prefer natural.
Real butter tends to add a bit more flavour.
Yeah, it's more buttery.
The other thing you can do if you're finding it difficult is you can either grate or chop up the butter into smaller pieces. It helps it to combine with the sugar more easily.
It'll help it get softer as well. If you cube it up beforehand into small little cubes, it'll soften a lot quicker than a big block like that. I mean, we did have a little mishap with our butter as well throughout the day.
Oh,
we did leave it on the radiator.
Do you want to tell them? Yeah, so we left our butter to warm up on the radiator, and
that was for one of our other videos, which was genius.
And poor Sharon had to clean up a pool of butter that had dripped through the radiator.
Sorry, Sharon, if you're watching. But as you can see, it's starting to come together now, and it's starting to get to near enough where we need it now. It's near enough ready for the egg. So usually with any cake recipe, it's usually you cream your butter and sugar first, then the egg, and then follows is the flour and any other ingredients that you want to do.
You could use an electric mixer for this if you wanted to.
You can.
Or an electric whisk in your hand. If you were doing that, make sure that you know how to use it safely.
Yeah.
Or ask someone to help you if you need to. And yeah, there we go. We're ready. There's that egg.
There's the egg. Spin it around if you wish. Give it a little wave. Give it a little tap on the side. Crack it in.
Crack, crack. In goes the egg. One whole large egg.
Yeah. This is where the recipe actually speeds up a lot, because you just incorporate that egg with the sugar and butter until it goes nice and creamy, so you can go fast. I think ideally, you'll see in a minute, I asked for a whisk, because you can mix it better. You can get more air in there with the egg. I was struggling to break up the pieces.
So you do want to go for quite a bit of a vigorous
Did you speed that up?
No, that's your actual speed.
Seriously?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's quick.
Quicker than you think.
I thought you'd stuck it on fast forward.
No. Faster than the average bear. No. I can speed you up next time and put a bit of Benny Hill music in if you like.
I think you could have used Benny Hill music there.
There we go. You didn't actually ask for a whisk. That's a different recipe that you're thinking of.
Is it?
Yeah,
I told a lie.
But there you go. It's mixed. It's nice and smooth. What you're looking for is no more lumps of buttery and sugar.
No lumps of butter and sugar. So now I think we're going to mix together the cocoa powder. So already in that bowl, I've got 10 grams of cocoa powder. And what I'm going to do is add in some wet ingredients, which is the vanilla extract and a red paste.
Red food colouring, that is.
It is, but the red food colouring that you might get might be a liquid, which will help.
Or a gel.
This is a paste. It's a bit stronger in colour, so I don't use as much as what it says in the recipe.
What we would say is if you're getting the food colouring that's a powder, watch out because they often contain salt.
Yes.
So if you're using powdered food colouring, be careful how much you're using because it can make your cake salty.
Yes, you don't want that.
So
I mean, salt in cake's not too bad, but...
Vanilla extract's gone in. Time for that red food colouring.
Yeah. See, I only use a little dab because I know this is really powerful. You'll see it's quite sticky and it doesn't want to come off the knife. Just dab it on the side there and you'll see it gets on my skin and everything. It's a nightmare.
Be careful with it because it will stain anything it touches red.
Yeah.
If you get it on your hands, you'll live. It'll wash off in a couple of days, but on clothes and things like that, you really don't want to do that.
Just use the back of a spoon to try and mix it together. I think you'll see in a minute I actually add a little bit of milk to help this process because it wasn't as liquidy as I wanted.
Right.
Because
and that's okay.
It's a gel.
The milk's not going to mess with the
It's
process.
not. You're adding milk into your recipe anyway, so if you just add a little bit...
So you're taking a bit of the milk you would have been adding later and using it now.
That's all I'm doing. Speeding up a bit of a process.
So if you're adding the milk now, make sure that you add it from the amount you've already weighed out.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to... you've added milk now, so don't add the full amount later.
Only use what you're going to use anyway. So the milk that I was going to use was 120 ml. So I used about 20 ml in this just to mix it all together. It takes a little while because the cocoa powder just doesn't want to mix with liquid. That's why it's easier to mix it like this. You don't get clumps of cocoa powder in your cake. It's all nicely mixed together. You'll see it all come together like a reddy brown colour. And it's almost ready to go in with the cake now. We've got a nice little paste.
That's perfect. So again, we're just looking for consistency. No lumps, no bumps, no nothing.
So now you bring back in your butter. There's our pre-weighed out flour, which is 150 grams plain flour. So you want to add that in. Make sure you've got every bit of flour off the side. This really speeds up now because you're going to add pretty much everything in. So there's your bicarb, which helps the cake rise.
Adds those lovely bubbles.
Yes. And you want, it's half a teaspoon of bicarbonated soda. You can add a little bit more if you want it to rise a bit more. And then it's 1.5 teaspoons of white wine vinegar.
Unfortunately, in the video, you're going to see Paul use 1.5 tablespoons of white wine vinegar. That is not what you want to do. 1.5 teaspoons is the right amount.
Teaspoon. I mean, I've made lots of cakes in my life. For whatever reason, I seen that symbol and was like, that's tablespoons. It's not. It's teaspoons.
It's okay though. They tasted alright.
I had a bit of a moment, to be honest. Now you can give your cake mixture a bit of a mix now. Make sure the flour gets mixed in with the sugar and butter and the egg. And then you're going to add the rest of your wet ingredients.
So that's where your milk and your cocoa powder mixture comes into play.
It'll just smooth out.
So you can see it's coming together already as a little bit of a battery dough kind of situation. And that's where the milk is going to make it much more into a batter rather than a firmer dough.
I mean, some people might get worried because this is actually quite a wet mix of a cake.
Right.
But it's from one of my favourite books.
So you've added half the milk there.
Yeah. And then I just wanted to incorporate this. I don't know why I did that, because I could have just put all the milk in, because it doesn't really matter.
It felt like the right move in the moment, and that's what matters.
It did. I usually go by Oh, I know why I left it to one side, because I wanted to use it to get the rest of the stuff out of this bowl.
Oh, you're absolutely right. You said that.
That's why I did.
So there you go. So
there's method in my madness.
Keep some
sometimes.
of your milk to one side.
Or, as you can see, I pour the rest of the milk in there.
Just to try and mix it with the red paste to get as much as it can.
I wanted to make sure I get most of the red paste out and all the cocoa powder, basically. It's usually a trick that, you know, you use to make sure you get the maximum out of everything. There you go. You can see it's quite red actually at this point.
You could even, I suppose, prepare the cocoa mixture in the jug and then add all of the milk to it.
Yeah, as you can see, it gets on your fingers quite bad.
Yeah, but it makes that lovely colour that red velvet is known for.
Yeah, exactly.
Without this step, it would just be chocolate cake.
Yeah, I really like chocolate cake.
So there we go, we're back to super speedy mixing.
Now you just want to mix it all together and make sure it all comes together. No lumps and bumps. Just smooth it out.
And that's, you can do that nice and quick. Again, you can use a hand mixer if you wanted to, or you know, take your time and do it for a bit longer. That's okay.
Yeah, I think this might have been. Did they not ask you for the whisk at this point?
I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we should stop mentioning the whisk unless the whisk comes onto screen.
I know. I just like whisks.
But it might get a bit confusing for people if we keep mentioning a whisk that isn't there. Anyway, so we're just mixing and mixing, nice and fast, trying to get rid of any tiny little lumps. And you are right. Yeah, we could use a whisk in this circumstance.
I think a whisk is better because you get loads of air into your cake.
But if you're not confident with a whisk, then you know the spoon is absolutely fine.
I knew I asked for
There we go.
Because I wanted more air into the cake.
Right.
And I think I seen a few lumps and bumps that I just wasn't getting out with the spoon.
Yeah.
And wanted to get rid of them lumps and bumps.
I used to love when I was younger.
This is where your whisk is good.
I had one of those whisks with a handle on the side, so you could just put it in and spin it.
There was. I had one of them as a drill.
Did you? A hand drill.
Yeah. Me and Peter was.
I think it's exactly the same mechanism.
It is.
Just with the ends swapped out.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, you'll see it all comes together now, and there's no lumps and bumps.
You're really going for it there. I mean, and again, don't worry if you can't mix that vigorously.
Don't worry about it.
Just do it for a bit longer. Just keep going until you get a nice smooth batter.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about trying it and seeing how you feel and having fun.
Yeah. So
I want
got a lovely red mix. You've got your cake tin ready to go.
You want your muffin tin. You want your cupcake cases. I think I used all 12 cases. I think I should have used about 6 or 9 to make it a bit thicker.
The mix wasn't as full as you'd like it.
So if you're making this mixture, it will only make 6 to 8, I'd say.
Or it will make 12 smaller cakes.
Yeah,
if you
it
want
will
small
make
ones.
12 small ones.
We didn't have any complaints, did we? Everyone was happy with these cakes. So if you want to make smaller, more bite-sized ones, that's not a problem.
I mean, I'd say it was perfectly ideal for what we were.
What's like the most full you could have the cupcake case though? Because we don't want to overfill them, do we?
I'd go just slightly over halfway up the cupcake case.
Okay, no more than that.
Maybe 3/4. Definitely not to the top because they'll just rise and they'll just spill out.
There you go.
So it'll just be a big mess.
So somewhere between halfway and 3/4 is ideal.
Yeah, between halfway and 3/4 is what you want to fill them. No more than that. Because otherwise it's just going to burst over.
It's somewhere around 3 tablespoons worth, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, because I think when I did these the first time in the arc, I think it was practically 3 tablespoons of this mixture.
There you go.
Because you'll see I get 2 in some of them, and I could have done with just a touch more. But it doesn't matter, it's all about having fun, trying new experiences and trying new things. And that's what it's all about. Have fun with baking. I think that's what we should have called this show actually.
You want to go for a rebrand?
No, I like baking with Paul.
It took me more time than I'm willing to admit to make that logo at the beginning. So please don't change the name now.
I'm not going to change the name.
No, actually, the text is the easy part to change. As long as you like the utensils, then it's okay.
Yeah, I love the utensils. But I want everyone to just have fun with it.
So there we go. I think we're looking at about halfway full on these cupcake cases.
I'd say just under.
Just under, and that's 12 of them, so
yeah.
Use your best judgment. Correct me if I'm wrong, I believe I'm going to do you now and mention something that hasn't happened yet, but you're going to get a spatula to get all those extra bits out?
Yeah, I am going to use a spatula.
So, if you've got a silicone spoon in the first place, you can just use that instead of the tablespoon. But if not, you'll need to use a spatula and a spoon. Spoon for spooning in, and the silicone is just what gets right around the edges of the bowl.
My ideal spatula is a silicone spatula. I mean, I remember having a plastic one and Michelle melted it at home.
Oh dear.
And I was fuming because I was like, that's me other spatula to get the cake mix out. So yeah, these silicone ones are perfect to just get all the rest of the mixture
All
into
together.
one little like lump at the bottom, and you can get at it with the spoon. Then I tend to use a spoon, but alternatively you could pour your cake mixture into an icing bag.
A piping bag.
A piping bag.
We're going to show you how to use a piping bag later on. So if you want to skip ahead to the point at which Paul's making frosting, you'll see how to use a piping bag, and you could use that for the batter as well.
You just need to hold it with your fingers.
I've seen it done with a jug as well.
Jugs are good. Yeah, you can.
If you need to pour it more easily or whatever. Or even that bowl does have a spout on it. You could have poured it directly from the bowl. The thing is, it's a bit harder to control.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway, so there's your cakes, and in a moment, there we go. Look, they've magically transported themselves over to the oven, which we
Ready to go
preheated
into
at the
oven.
beginning.
We did to 180.
Ready to go. In they go.
There we go.
So that's the middle of our oven, which is fan assisted.
I always go in the middle.
See you later, cakes.
Bye.
Are you ready for them to magically cook themselves? Oh, look at that.
And they've right.
And as you see, it was just under halfway, and they've still filled most of that cupcake case.
Yep.
So they're, a decent sized cake.
They do flatten out as well later on.
A little
They'll
bit.
go a little bit flatter. They won't stay as domed as they are now.
Right. And what we're looking for Doneness is if you can insert a thin skewer or a butter knife.
Skew is like perfect.
And if it comes out nice and clean like that one does,
Yep.
then we're away. I think we're going to do that again
I think you
because
asked me to do it
you
again.
held the knife up above the camera so we couldn't see properly.
Yeah.
And it's going to look like there's a piece of cake on the knife because you caught the top of the cake, didn't you? You
Yeah, I
kinda
think I
ripped
brought
crumb
a
off.
piece off.
But what you're avoiding is if you can see streaks of gooey cake. It
You
means
don't
it's
want
not
goo.
cooked.
Yeah.
So if it comes away without any soft, like wet pieces of cake, then you're okay. And so you just gently, carefully grab the edges of the cupcake case and put them on the cooling rack. Drying rack?
You don't want to leave them too long in your muffin tray because what tends to happen is your cupcake case goes soggy and it'll pull away from the cake.
So now if you were nervous about the actual tray, you can either wear oven gloves for this step, or you can use a pair of tongs to grab the edge of the cupcake case and pull it out.
Yeah.
You can even,
Or get
what
somebody
my
else to
what
do it.
my grandma used to do is put the cooling rack on top of the cupcakes and flip the whole thing over and then turn them the right way up once they were out of the tray. Using oven gloves, obviously.
Yeah. Michelle's nan did that to me as well and ruined one of my cakes one time. She was like, you can just do this. And I was like, no, don't do it.
Okay, so now we're going to make the frosting.
We are.
Sorry to cut that story short, but we're
It's
moving
okay.
on. We've zeroed our scales and we've got some icing sugar.
So for this, I have not got the...
You don't know quite how much you're using here. Hang on, we're going to
think
zoom in
it's
now. Don't
250.
worry about it. You're going to see. We're getting to 111 already. Just bear with us. So yeah, just spooning our icing sugar in there. It takes a little while. Icing sugar is lighter than it.
I'm pretty certain, if my memory serves me correct, it's 220 of icing sugar.
There we go.
Well, I went a little
we
bit
stopped on
over.
229. As usual, Paul likes to add a little bit of extra everything.
I
You
know.
can see the butter in the bowl there because it was left on the radiator.
That's the melted butter, but it's still good.
But you want it nice and soft for
Yes, you want it to be to this consistency. You want it to be easy to scoop up. You don't want hard butter to make your cream cheese frosting.
this. Yeah,
I think this was meant to be 35 or 40,
it's okay.
but it doesn't make a massive difference. I just added more of the icing sugar and a bit more of the
You will see
cream
now,
cheese.
this is going to be a messing job. We prefer to use an electric whisk and it will puff up like this. It's going to
Yeah.
happen.
Just do it in bursts, short bursts. But basically what you want to do is get your butter to start to incorporate with the icing sugar. Because if you add the cream cheese too early, it makes it cold, the butter cold again. And you end up with little lumps of butter, which you can't get rid of later.
There you go.
That's why you want your butter to be really soft as well. So then you get your mixing bowl and your scales, and then you want to weigh out
It
your
looks like
cream
you're
cheese.
losing a lot of sugar there, but you're really not. It's just
No.
it's just a small amount of the sugar getting powdered.
But you can
up
see
the air.
in there, you can see the little balls of butter already. Jack mixed with the icing
That's
sugar.
80 grams of cream cheese has gone in there.
It is. I think it's 95. I wanted the buttercream cream cheese.
You've gone for 98.
I did. Told you I was adding a little bit more of
Always a
each.
little extra.
And then for some unknown reason I decided to mix it on top of the scales, which is just the sort of stuff I do.
It doesn't really matter, I suppose.
It doesn't, but you'll see it comes together
As-
really, really quickly.
As we've said in the past, if you wanted to make sure the bowl's not moving around, you can always put it on a tea towel folded up on your on your work surface. And look at that, nice and smooth, ribbony.
Yeah. So make sure you get up and down the sides and make sure you get all the icing sugar mixed in with it as well.
And you're looking for that sort of, when it stays in the shape that the whisk was putting it in.
Yeah. With cream cheese frosting is you don't want to over whip it because it'll go too loose.
Yeah, become runny.
Yeah. And I think it's easier to split cream cheese frosting.
So when you see those peaks there, those are soft peaks, that's what you're looking for.
Yeah. See, the top tip I was always taught, cream cheese frosting, you can over whip, but buttercream, you can't over whip it. It actually just goes whiter.
So here we go.
Whiter.
We're going to show you how to use the piping bag now. So Paul's got his bowl of cream cheese frosting. He's got his piping bag. He's just going to turn it over itself and put it in the pint glass.
See, if you've got somebody to help you to hold the piping bag, it's easy. But if you haven't, use tall glass, so it'll just hold the shape of the.
And then again, you want your spatula to get all of the mixture out of the bowl, right?
Yeah.
Try and get it as far into the bag as you can.
And sometimes, if you had a fancy nozzle, stick that in first as well.
Oh yeah, if you've got a nozzle, you need to cut and make sure you put the nozzle in first.
Yeah.
But because we're not using a nozzle, we've left the end not cut until we're ready to put a hole in it.
Yeah.
So those of you who don't know, the piping bag is basically a triangle of plastic. Yeah. So the end is actually completely closed at the moment.
So what I also did is leave a bit in there to show people if they didn't have a piping bag, how to do it with a spoon.
Yeah, we're going to get to that towards the end, aren't we?
Yeah.
So you had a little bit of difficulty cutting because we lost the good scissors. So in a moment, you're going to see my first on-screen appearance. It's going to be my left hand. Are you ready, guys? There we go.
There we go.
And then eventually we got the job done.
It's the worst pair of scissors I've ever seen.
So pinch, twist, and squeeze it forwards once the hole's there. If you squeeze it before the hole's there, it's just going to burst.
So make sure you squeeze it because you don't want it to...
And you're twisting that top to make sure it's closed, aren't you?
So nothing can get back out.
Right.
So push down into the cake and then just swirl it round.
There we go.
I mean, it works a lot better with a nozzle, but I didn't have a nozzle. But again, just repeat.
I mean,
the more pressure you
got
put
the hang
in,
of it
yeah,
pretty quick without a nozzle, so it is doable.
Yeah, it's very easy. But the most important bit of advice I can give you is push down into the cake. Don't pull away from the cake.
Right.
Because that's when the icing just wants to come with you and go up.
Right. You've just shown us there, when you pulled away, it didn't go onto the cake, it just stayed with the nozzle.
See, on that one I pushed into it. It's a thing that I need to learn myself as much as anything.
But these are things that we'll always learn, all of us, I guess.
That one was a beautiful one. And then again.
Round and round we go.
Yep, beautiful.
And now this last one you're going to finish with the spoon, because not everyone's got a piping bag or is going to bother buying one.
And
you can
just
still
as
make it
easy
look
to
pretty.
do this.
I mean,
some people use an ice cream scoop just to get a scoop of it and put it on top, and then do this with the back of a spoon.
I've seen people do it with a butter knife. You can do different patterns. You can even get a fork, do lines.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you like.
I mean, again, just have fun with it.
And it doesn't have to be beautiful because it's going to taste great. That's the main thing.
That's what I always say to everyone. Looks is one thing, but taste is...
Are you ready for the glamour shot, Paul? It's my favourite part of the show. Oh my goodness. Wow,
beautiful.
Look at that.
And if you want it to be really, really fancy, stick a love heart on the top.
Oh, there we go. Really Valentine's-y, or a small chocolate or something like that. Thank you very much for watching Baking with Paul.
Thank you very much. Enjoy and give it a go.
We'll see you next week for mini quiches, I believe.
Yes, it is.
So, talk to you all soon.
Bye.